I don't know if this is a crisis, but what if I told you black student enrollment at HBCUs have dropped nearly 50% since 1970s? Or over the last 3 decades, 16 states have underfunded HBCUs by $13 billion, led by Tennessee at $2.2 billion, North Carolina at $2.1 billion, and Florida rounds out the top 3 at $2 billion. PWIs compared to HBCUs endowment is 100 to 1. In other words, for every $100 PWIs receive in endowment, HBCU receive $1. HBCU graduates have an average of $33,000 of debt after graduation. That is 19% higher than non-HBCU graduates. 6 HBCUs have closed its doors since 2000, which you might say, Keith, is only 6. Well, at its peak, there was only 120 HBCUs in this entire country. We are now down to 101, and they ain't building anymore. If you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. But just like you, I have a ton of questions. How the hell did this happen when producing some of the most successful black leaders in history? So let's build a foundation to this conversation. HBCUs were primarily created in response to the exclusion of black people from higher education, whether that was due to slavery, segregation, or racial discrimination. The goal was to create black leaders and professionals that could lead their communities. And that brings us to today, where HBCUs still produce 80% of black judges, 50% of black doctors and lawyers, 40% of black engineers, and 24% of all STEM field bachelor degrees received by black people in America was awarded by HBCUs. Among the historic alumni list is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Jesse Jackson, Oprah Winfrey, Kamala Harris, Spike Lee, Stephen A. Smith, Thurgood Marshall, just to name a few. HBCUs contribute $14.8 billion annually to the U.S. economy. They have also fostered a great legacy of entrepreneurship and black wealth. Studies show that HBCU graduates have been more likely to start a business that directly benefit black communities from providing jobs, services, and opportunities that otherwise may not exist in these areas. Stay with me here, we just barely getting started. Enrollment increased 47% from 1976 to 2010. Then decreased 11% from 2010 to 2020. And from 2020 to 2023, it rose 5 to 7% depending on where you look. Let's dive a little bit deeper into these numbers. Historically, HBCUs were predominantly attended by black students. Back in the 1970s, 85% of students at HBCUs were black. Fast forward to the 2020s, and black students now make up roughly 76% of the student body at many HBCUs, while non-black students, especially Latino, white, international students, now make up around 24% of the student body. Now, why such a dramatic shift, you may ask? If we look at the larger institutions, many of these schools are attracting more international students and individuals from diverse backgrounds. A lot say they are interested in the unique cultural education that they can receive. Many of these international students come from African and Caribbean communities. This brings valuable global perspectives to the campuses, further enriching the academic and cultural environment. One of the more surprising changes is the gender imbalance that has been developing over the past few decades. Women now represent almost 70% of the entire student body at HBCUs, outpacing men in both enrollment and graduation rates. This reflects a broader trend in higher education where women are now pursuing degrees at higher rates than men across the board. And this influx of new people isn't just by mistake. There has been a deliberate focus on STEM programs aiming to close the racial gaps in these fields. Schools like I used to attend, North Carolina A&T, have become leaders in the engineering and technology, producing more black graduates in these critical industries. This shift in prioritizing STEM and graduate programs has led to an increase in students pursuing technology, engineering, medicine, and other high demand fields that will contribute to the future of black professionals. But all things come at a cost. Higher debt burdens on students due to an increase in tuition, 100 to 1 in endowments compared to PWIs, government funding not being consistent over the decades, HBCUs are not in a great place across the board. There are a few that's doing very well, but without consistent community, state, and federal support, we could very soon see more than just 6 institutions close its doors. We gotta say thanks though. Thanks to the United Negro College Fund that annually donates 9 figures to numerous HBCUs, Thurgood Marshall College Fund, as well as other corporate partnerships and individual donations that help keep things going in the right direction. Now, if you know me, I'm not the guy to sit around and say it's not fair and complaining. It is what it is. What are you going to do about it? First, I believe the institutions has to continue pushing students towards STEM and trade fields that are in high demand. Those are going to create black professionals for the future. 2, more black students need to consider HBCUs as a top option when choosing schools. That includes you, athletes. 3, we have to pressure politicians and leaders to make policies and fund HBCUs. Call your state governors and legislators. Call your House and Senate representatives. Call the U.S. Secretary of Education. And lastly, we have to call ourselves. We have to do more. I haven't done enough myself for my school, North Carolina A&T. We have to live with intent. Where do we spend our money? It doesn't have to be a direct donation. It could be as simple as supporting a business or a CEO that supports HBCUs. You could create or join support networks that directly fund or help HBCUs of your choosing. Or even as easy as sharing this video with as many people as possible, doing your own due diligence, asking as many questions, and making everybody around you smarter. HBCUs are more than just schools. They're legacies, monuments, cultural landmarks. And whether you went to one or not, supporting HBCUs supports black excellence and black education. If you got value out of this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, because all February we'll be hitting on new topics and discussions that is important to black culture. Happy Black History Month.